Howdy, everybody. So, today we're going to talk about freight, what things are starting to look like. So, let's put a background here. Okay. So, freight is kind of slow right now at Crete. I've been noticing it here the last few weeks, particularly. Um, I rejected a load the other day because it was unproductive. It was 1,100 miles covering three and a half days. I'm like, you know, I could do that in 2 days. They stretched it out to three, going on 4 days. So that kind of tells you something, right? And that's not the first time. This is starting to happen on a regular basis. And then I rejected that load, so they came back with another load, and it's just as unproductive. But I did take it. Um, I gotta sit all day tomorrow because the load's a live load, picks up on Monday. See, that's another indication is when you start seeing a lot of live loads, a lot of live unloads, that means that a normal drop and hook is not available. And when freight is good, 75% or more Crete loads are drop and hook. But when freight is going slow, those drop and hooks start disappearing. And now it's live load, live unload. And then if it falls on a weekend, you're gonna wait till Monday to get loaded. So this has happened before. It's nothing new. And being an owner operator, you have plenty of other things to do in your business that'll keep you occupied when freight's a little bit low. Um, now is a great time to get caught up on all your paperwork, all your preventive maintenance planning. Uh, dot every I, cross every T, do all your taxes, everything. Take advantage of the extra time. So when things pick back up, you'll be ready to go. But it is a little bit disappointing. And the thing with Crete is that they will tell you everything is fine. Freight is good. Customers are great. Get good quality miles. La la la. But they don't actually tell you the truth. They tell you what you want to hear, and they keep hiring drivers. So if freight was slow, they should cut back on recruiting, but they don't. They never have, and they never will. They'll always keep recruiting, even though freight is low. It's frustrating for the drivers, and there's no pay increase either. Um, these things kind of go hand in hand. Low freight and no pay increases. Yet they'll still recruit more drivers. When they recruit more drivers, drivers don't come in at top pay. They come at the lower end of the pay. A lot of times it's based on experience, but if they're able to hire more younger drivers earlier in their career, they'll pay less. So uh, they're not going to not hire those guys. The profit margin on hiring the new guys is much greater. So they have a certain percentage of turnover that they're comfortable with, and they'll continuously hire new drivers, especially if they're early in their career and the profit margin opportunity is good. So they'll never change that. And you know, freight being low, it's not going to get any better if you keep bringing in more drivers. But some of it's related to the economy slowing down, and that's why the Federal Reserve is going to start lowering interest rates. Some of it's related to tariffs. Um, I think a lot of freight news stories are starting to show the impact of tariffs has on shipping, transportation. Um, it could be corrected, but if the volume of freight nationwide is down, and the likely implication is tariffs, you can't really get away from that. It is what it is. You could be a great supporter of the administration, but those policies has had an impact on trucking. And freight is down, and freight's down. That's gonna affect your pocketbook. I'm not a big fan of the last administration, but freight was okay. But I think it's tariffs. Once that gets situated, you know, uh, it'll pick back up. But the second half of 2025 doesn't look so great. They kept indicating in the first half that the second half would be better, but here it is. I mean, we're 8 months into the year, and we're deeply into the second half. It's not getting better. So but Crete doesn't tell you freight slowing down. They always paint the rosy picture. I was thinking about this the other day because I'm watching a lot of videos on a YouTube channel called Matrix Explained, and it's the red pill and the blue pill scenario, right? And it just coincidentally at Crete you have red trucks and blue trucks. so, so it's like, are you a red pill? Uh, in the Matrix, the red pill people uh, chose a different path. So the blue pills stay in the Matrix. And so it's kind of like that when you're facing any decision. But like if you want to become an owner operator, for example, that's kind of like taking the red pill. If you take the blue pill, you return to Never Never Land and stay as a company driver. You take the red pill, we show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. uh, so the question for you is this: if you're thinking about becoming an owner operator, do you think you're the one? But what the movie, the YouTube channel, the Matrix Explained, is it's always a false choice, because even the new reality for the real pills was also created by uh, the Matrix. It's part of the Matrix, so they didn't escape anything, and that's true. Like when you become an owner operator, you're still under the umbrella of the corporation. You didn't escape anything. Whether you are a company driver or owner operator, you're still part of the corporation. You're still within their framework. And if there's not enough freight, it doesn't matter if you're a company driver or you're an owner operator. That's still going to affect you. Now, you could try to switch carriers, but I think it's industry wide. And you go on the spot market, and those guys are starving to death. It's going to be tough. But the one thing with contract freight, what owner operators need to know about contract freight, is that you always have enough freight to make your truck payment. You'll still make profit. You just don't make as much profit. Um, Contract freight, even during slow times, you still get 2,500 miles per week. That's pretty normal. It's just when the good times are good, you can get over 3,000 miles per week. You can get like 3,000 to 3,500 miles per week. When things are slow, now you're getting down to the mid, 2,500 plus or minus a few hundred miles. And that's kind of like where we're at right now with Crete. I would like to tighten up, these loads, stack them up back to back, turn and burn, but dispatch ain't doing it, and they haven't been doing it for the last few weeks, which is fine. I know this comes and goes. It'll come back, pretty soon when when kids get back to school, normal routine returns, and you're getting right into retailers having to stock their shelves for the Christmas holiday. Freight will be moving. It's just right now it's a little slow. It's the dog days of summer. And it's somewhat seasonal. This sometimes happens. After the first of the year, it sometimes happens too. So there's different parts of the year where freight's a little bit slower than others. I think, this part of the year is one of those times when freight's a little bit slow. Obviously, when you get, around the holidays, it picks back up. But, you know, it is slow. I don't think Crete's ever going to tell you it's slow. You're not going to get a raise when times are slow. You know, whether you deserve it or not, regardless, they have a perfect excuse for not giving you a raise because freight is slow. You don't need any other explanation. So it will pass eventually, but you know, It is a good time to be looking at trucks. It's a good time if you're a new owner operator. It's a good time to catch up on everything. When times are slow, that's when you really need to go through in detail, dot every I, cross every T, be ready to go when freight picks back up. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the internet.